Now, for those of you who know and those of you who don't, there is a feud going on between actors Justin Baldoni and actress Blake Lively. They had done a movie together, and Blake came out with a series of accusations against Justin, which resulted in a lawsuit. Now, evidently, texts have now been leaked about Justin speaking about something that Blake Lively's husband Ryan Reynolds did to him, which was a time that Ryan Reynolds allegedly confronted Justin. And this is Justin telling that to Rainn Wilson. For those of you who know or don't know, Rainn Wilson is the actor from The Office. He played Dwight. So this is what Justin said to Rainn, aka Dwight. Rainn had said, "Any update, brothers?" Question mark. Now, Justin said, "Sorry for not giving an update. Last night was one of the hardest nights of my life. It's hard to describe what happened exactly. The only way to describe it was an ambush. I had no words. I couldn't formulate sentences. My brain was trying to defend itself when they were needing me to apologize for all of the ways I have effed up and made her feel unsafe." Now, he's talking about Ryan and Blake confronting him about how Justin allegedly made Blake feel unsafe. It says, "Ryan was talking to me like a 5-year old and scolding me. They essentially said that Jamie and I are not who we claim to be, and that for us to have a podcast is unsafe because it makes people feel like we are safe. I was read from a phone all of the things that I did. While many of them were based in actual situations, the events were wrong and things were taken completely out of context. The word creepy and abuse were given The word creepy and abuse were used in reference to me and my behavior. I was then given the words of what to say and had to apologize, which I was unable to do because my brain was trying to comprehend what was happening. I was in shock and basically went into feeling like I was a 7-year old again when I got home last night. I was emotionally paralyzed. It was as bad as it sounds. Jamie did a beautiful job apologizing. I did not have the words. I was embarrassed for myself as it happened in front of the team. But I was embarrassed that I was unable to even formulate the correct words to apologize and honestly just feel like a bad person. It's hard to feel so much of what they believe about me is false because they are so convinced that it's real. Looking for the nuggets of learning, which there are many and somehow have showed up today. Thanks to Jamie and my wife, and we are currently shooting. I love you all." Now, Justin also went on to say, "My brain was struggling because of what I wanted to say and do was run and blow this whole movie up because I feel this was so unjust. And yet the only path forward was to acknowledge her and Ryan's feelings and apologize and take the wrath of an angry husband. Yeah, I couldn't even do that correctly. I prayed and prayed and prayed for the words and I didn't come, so I felt abandoned by God in that moment, even though I know that's not what happened. We were told this was the worst experience of her life, and others have witnessed this behavior. And the behavior on our set was creepy. I was emotionally paralyzed, which is something haven't experienced in years. At Rain, imagine that meeting all those years ago at Soul Pancake with Golriz, but times that by about 100. I spoke to my therapist for an hour, and she tried to get me out of the haze as I literally could not get myself off the couch. I don't know how I will make it through, but I know that I will. And just knowing you're all there for me means the world to me because even with Jamie here and my wife and family, I've never felt so alone. Putting a smile on, doing my best to lead the crew. I will unpack and process this when we wrap up, of course. When we wrap, of course. I apologize for the vulnerability dump. This is one of the few safe spaces I have right now. I love you all and thank you for your prayers." Now, there's been a lot of accusations back and forth between Justin and Blake about the way that they both behaved on set. Blake claims that Justin did a number of things to her that made her feel uncomfortable, and Justin says that those didn't happen in the exact way that Blake says that they did. Now, I only know of a few. I don't know of all of them. I'm just seeing this text now, but it does make me wonder. This line right here, where he says, "I was read from a phone all of the things that I did, while many of them were based in actual situations. Many of the events were wrong and things were taken completely out of context." Now, for one, this reminds me of an article I read about this situation where Blake said that Justin showed him that Justin showed her a video of his wife in an inappropriate situation. Um, I believe she said that Justin showed her a video of his wife giving birth, and you could see like all her parts because it was a very graphic video of her giving birth. And Blake had said that it made her uncomfortable. Well, Justin came out and said that what happened was Blake was filming a birthing scene where she was giving birth, and for direction, he showed her a video in that moment of his wife giving birth for her to draw reference from. Um, Although Blake has given birth many times herself, she's got three children. So I can see both sides here. Like, if Blake didn't ask for that reference when she had one herself, or maybe he was just sharing and being like, look, this is how my wife did it. Regardless, that seems like kind of a situation he's talking about where he's saying, well, these events did happen, but not exactly in the light that she's saying they're in. Or there was another time that I remember where Blake said that during a scene where they were dancing, Justin kept speaking to her, even though the scene required no speaking at all. Well, Justin released footage of that event where he was dancing with Blake, and she said we should talk during this scene, and Justin said I don't think we should. And this was them talking while the scene was being filmed, and the camera was picking it up. But obviously, in the end result, they were just gonna like mute what they were saying and make it seem like they were talking without letting us know what they said because all of the talk was out of character talk. It wasn't in character. So Blake had said Justin was talking to me out of character, not in character during a scene where during a dancing scene where the two were not supposed to be talking. But Justin proved that. But Justin had shown evidence that Blake was actually the one who kept trying to get him to talk, and she said it would just look better if we were speaking during this scene, like we were being intimate, dancing, and like a couple. Justin didn't agree with that, but Blake wanted it, so they kept discussing this out of character and trying to make it look friendly enough so that when the camera picked it up, it just looked like it was a couple talking. So it's kind of like he compromised and they both got what they wanted. She said that at the time of this, he told her that she smelled good or he said something inappropriate to her. Now, there actually is footage of this. I don't know if can include it because it might be copyright, but there is footage of this where he does make a mention of her perfume because they're dancing so close together. He makes a mention of her perfume, and they both joke about it for a second. But that's the only thing that I saw that. So I guess that's what made her feel uncomfortable, which is understandable for a comment like that's being uncomfortable if you're, out of character. But it felt like they were, if you're out of character, it felt like they were tiptoeing in between out of character and character, out of character and character. It seemed kind of sloppy. I know that these two had a lot of arguments about how the movie should be filmed. They had very different imaginations for, they had very different visions for what they wanted this movie to be. Like, for instance, there was one time where Blake allegedly rewrote a scene in the movie, which apparently Ryan actually rewrote, but I don't know why they said Blake did it. It's confusing. Either Blake or Ryan rewrote a scene for the movie, and Blake kept pushing for the scene to be put in. It was a comical scene, and Ryan does comedy, but Justin didn't want it in the movie because it's a serious movie about DV. And Justin didn't think that it fit the theme of the movie to have basically a comical comedy moment in there because he was trying to make a more serious film. And apparently, Blake kept pushing for it, and then she even invited Justin to her house, and she kept saying, Ryan and Taylor Swift loved the scene. Like, they loved the scene. They wanted it to be included in the movie. And then Justin said that Taylor Swift ended up showing up to the house and saying, oh, Justin, did you see that scene that Blake wrote? Isn't it great? Like, isn't it something that should be in the movie? And Justin felt pressured to include it. And there are text messages of Justin saying things like, Taylor and Ryan and Blake are kind of pressuring for this movie, and now I feel like, am I wrong for not wanting this scene in the movie? Maybe it is great. Taylor Swift scene is great, so maybe it is great. And he accused Blake of kind of using her husband and best friend to pressure him into doing things that he didn't want to do for the movie by kind of like peer pressure. And there's a text from Blake, an infamous text now, where she wrote a text saying, Ryan and Blake are my protect. She had a text where she said, Ryan and Taylor are my protectors. I'm like Khaleesi from Game of Thrones, and they're my dragons, and they'll do all the dirty work for me, and they'll make sure I'm protected. That's a that's a text from Blake herself that she released. So there's been a lot of speculation about what's been going on here in this lawsuit. Like some people even have theorized, and there's been rumors that okay, people say that Blake falls for all of her co-stars. This is just what people have said. And they said that Blake seemed to be flirting with Justin, but he has a wife and he never responded. So she felt a little bit put off by him not responding to her, quote unquote advances and her ideas. Like he wasn't gassing her up. Like Ryan gasses Blake up. Ryan thinks everything Blake does is just like magical. And people think that the fact that Justin didn't think that they were magical like that upset her because she got Taylor involved, she got Ryan involved. She had Ryan coming to set to scold Justin. Apparently, Ryan even made fun of Justin Baldoni in one of his Deadpool movies, where he was like making fun of him in his podcast and his man bun, just like weird stuff like that. So there's it's been an ongoing feud and lawsuit between these two, where it's like he said, she said, um, who did this, who did that, who's right, who's wrong. Seems like a difference of opinions in these regards. But again, Blake said she felt uncomfortable on set. Justin claims that he has proof for all of these times that she has referenced, and when you see them, they aren't exactly like she described them. But I think being uncomfortable too is subjective. Like I think it's possible for her to be guilty of being the one talking during that end scene. Like she obviously was the one who was like, we should talk, and then he started talking to her out of character because they were talking out of character, and they kept doing it, and they can't just like make up lines on the spot to be in character. Because if they like, for instance, if they did, how does she know that that comment about her perfume wasn't just him ad-libbing and winging it to be in character as his character and her? That's why you shouldn't do those things out of character. You should only do things based off a script. If it's not in the script to talk, just don't talk. So I could see why that right there is um her being the one to start the conversation and talk, and then she blamed it on him. I don't know why. But at the same time, I can see why a comment like the perfume thing would make her uncomfortable. So that's why I'm saying it's like a slippery slope. Like if there's no talking for the scene, don't talk, because things like this can happen where if he's making comments like that and he's trying to like, in character talk while he's still talking out of character, it's too blurry of lines. It's too messy. You shouldn't go there. It just seems like this whole production was very messy and these two could never agree on anything. And apparently even the writer of the book that the movie was based on kind of sides with Blake. She doesn't really side with Justin, but the crew, or it seemed like most of the crew sided with Justin. So it's just this weird thing, and it's very sloppy. But apparently, this was Ryan becoming involved. This was Ryan being involved when, and not just once. Ryan apparently was involved multiple times, and people could say it was a husband sticking up for his wife, which obviously any wife would want that. But it's also unprofessional. I feel like if you're gonna get someone to stick up for you, it should be someone in the industry, not your husband, an actor in the industry, but someone who comes to set and makes sure everything's okay. I think Ryan coming and doing all of that was inappropriate. Like, yes, your husband should stand up for you and things like that, but not during the production of a movie. Go get someone higher up to do it. Ryan had no place in this, I believe. But let me know what you guys think. Fill me in on the details you know about this case. If you know more about the Blake situation or the Justin situation and you think I'm wrong, or you think that there's information I don't know yet that would change my mind if I did, just put it in the comments. Let me know everything you know. I will read it, I will go through it, and I will reply. So let me know your thoughts.